Mistakes and regrets. Well, we all have them. Some more than others. In my case, well, there were some fun projects. I won first prize in science fair with a project that would make a filament bulb last a lot longer, and then got threatened by Philips. I had started a streaming site using real audio back in 1995. In 96, I wrote a dating site and something that would nowadays be considered a social media site that was very similar to Facebook and predated it by a good margin. Being young, there were a bunch of free software. Around year 2000, I had coded a phonetic translator for Bengali language, wrote a GPS system for my car in 2004. That was fun, driving my Rover next to a Porsche, and mine had a computer. Don't blame me, I grew up with Knight Rider. All those had the same outcome and the same reason. Well, technically the same reason, that is getting broken by a female. Obviously not the same one though. Every time that happened, I went into a slump and lost all interest. I wish I could use the line from Ocean 11, but being much older, I don't expect that to happen again. Finger crossed, touch wood, and so on. Out of all the regrets, FlightSim Manager is the one that hurts the most. It was the perfect marriage of three of my love: coding, gaming, and flying. Just looking at the manual now makes my brain hurt, and I wonder how the hell did I manage to write all that by myself? Then I remember, oh yes, I was a recluse. That changed now as I talk behind a video. In this video, I'll briefly discuss some of FlightSim Manager's feature. I do say briefly, and even so, it would be a long video, as FSM did have a lot of features. There is a much smaller intro video. If you haven't seen it, maybe watch that first to understand what's going on. A card should be popping up. I'll be honest, I'm hoping to drum up interest for a Kickstarter campaign. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and comment. If you're an avid flight sim fan and like what you see and hear, please check out my Kickstarter page. There will be a link in the description. So, FlightSim Manager. First version was released on 7th of May 2004. A lot of things have changed since. Our operating system has vastly changed, and so did many implementations. Original software was written in Visual Studio 6, which has been discontinued for years and years. I might be able to get it to run on Windows 8, but that would take a lot of messing around. I do have all my original code, and as a programmer, it's a good start as most of the research is already done and coded. FlightSimulator hasn't changed much, and my guess is it would be easy to update my 2004 code to the latest FlightSimulator X. I have Dovetail Flight School, but that was also built on FlightSimulator 2004. With a user interface in place, I can see it supporting X-Plane quite easily. It may not support all the bells and whistles, but dang, I'll do my best. So once you get your flight simulator up and running, you want a bunch of additional aircraft. Some single engine, some jumbo commercials, maybe SR-71 and some concept craft. Then you want some higher quality mesh for the whole world to give you terrain that matched the real world better. Maybe some aerial scenery to make it look prettier. All those should be pretty easy, right? Wrong. To start with, a lot of the downloads wouldn't install the file in correct places, and you're supposed to do this manually. This is true for almost any type of downloads, may it be aircraft, scenery, or additional textures. Next, you have the problem of loading speed. We want a lot of aircraft just in case we want to fly it at some point, but every single installed aircraft adds to load time. It's the same deal with scenery. Then once you have figured out how to optimize your simulator, which requires manual editing of configuration files. So far so good. The problem is, you may have high quality VFR scenery for UK and high mesh for USA. Now these two use case requires completely different optimization to get the most FPS. I wrote FSM to handle all this and more. To start with, there is an easy-to-use wizard to install various Flight Simulator add-ons with auto-validation and repair. This will figure out where the files needs to go and notify you if any files are missing or need repairing. There is a concept of hangar in FSM. It's exactly what it sounds like. You can install as many aircrafts as you want and then move the seldom using ones to hangar. This will speed up Flight Simulator tremendously, and you can bring any aircraft back into Simulator with a single click. No one wants to fly alone, and even when you're flying alone, you want to see traffic, plane taxiing, landing, and so on. This should be handled with special type of aircraft which uses less poly than the ones you'd fly. FSM has an easy virtual fleet management system that allows management of these aircrafts. Create, remove aircraft variants, making creating variations super easy. There is also a nice and simple wizard to tweak Flight Simulator, which would let you change between different scenery modes to match your flying style and maximize performance, so you can get the best FPS with your VFR or mesh scenery. Scenery set allows you to group sceneries and disable those with a single click. If you're flying in Germany, there is no reason for simulators to worry about the rest of your terabytes of scenery, which slows loading. With this feature, you can speed up your simulator even more. Texture set, in my opinion, is one of the most powerful and unique part of FSM. Once you have learned what these texture sets are, this will save you hours of frustration in the long run. Thanks to a huge sim community, we have a lot of freeware enhancements available to create better visual effects. This update includes better clouds, moon, sun, airport textures, sky, water, roads, trees, just to name a few. Some of these textures are designed to make Flight Simulator look prettier, and some to make Flight Simulator run faster. Some replaces existing Flight Simulator files, and some adds to it. But one thing for sure, they're always a pain to install, with the following problems. One of the problems is, as most of the textures overwrite original Flight Simulator textures, you're supposed to make a backup copy of the right textures. So if you do not like it, you can overwrite it with the original files. The major problem is to know where which file goes. For some textures, it is not so bad, i.e., all files had to be saved into one folder. But for some others, like garish grays trees, files need to be saved in several folders. What it means that the user is required to go through the documentation to know where to save the files to. Finally, the inevitable happens, and you have to reinstall Flight Simulator. Back to square one, finding all the right textures, reading the documents, backing up and installing, while having your fingers crossed. Texture Set tries to solve this whole problem. It's something that really needs a video on its own to explain. I also had added a set of diagnostic tools to locate and repair various Flight Simulator problems, including scenery configuration problems, checking land class file for memory leak, aircraft diagnostic with mass crash control, landing effects and updating ATC call signs, scanning for unused or missing gauges and gauges sound with internet search feature, scanning for unused or missing effect, scanning and rename duplicate textures, diagnose aliases, panels and sound, usage and more. Recalling the time this program was created, the next feature made a lot more sense. Even now I can see its use. This is LAN view. With LAN view, you can create virtual cockpits or moving map with multiple monitor support using network PCs. There's a view mode to replace the boring tower view with exciting camera views. FSM was also a complete AI traffic editor. Apart from manually setting which aircraft you want the AI to fly, and from which airport to where it is going, and at what time, you can also use a wizard that would use AI and take both airport and aircraft size to automatically create routes. There is also an option to import real-life route data. There is voice recognition built in that allows you to control Flight Simulator with customizable audio confirmations. For example, you can ask your co-pilot to lift the flap, and co-pilot would confirm that the flap is raised. You can even play event sounds, for example warning when your taxi speed is wrong. In Flight Simulator, when you're flying in most add-on aircraft and call into ATC, almost always you will not hear your plane by its call sign, but only by the tail number. The reason being, Flight Simulator default list of speakable ATC voices is very limited. FSM integrates a lot more call sign into your Flight Simulator, so you get the right vibe. What else did I miss? Oh yes, fly from anywhere using map view with cool location database, complete flight log to keep tracks of all your flights, sophisticated pilot mode allows you to auto-save flight, manual and automatic screen capture, benchmark Flight Simulator, power tools to mass edit aircraft, kill additional liveries to reclaim disk space, and a lot more. The whole system is protected with a read-only mode. It also has two interfaces, Novice and Expert, where some scary-looking options are only available in Expert mode. Novice mode would also automatically back up every changes. With FSM Install Tracker, you can even see what changes an automatic installer has made to your system and freeze Flight Simulator settings at any time. Of course, every backup can be easily restored. That is all for this video. Oh, did I mention? FlightSim Manager and another of my project, FSM Moving Map, had both won the prestigious Gold Award from FlightSim.com. If you want to see this project make a comeback in year 2020, with support for the latest version of Flight Simulator, Explain and others, please give this video a thumbs up, leave your comment, and check out my Kickstarter page. There should be an URL in the description. Have a safe day. Signing off.